High-income ETFs have become extremely popular over the last few years, and covered call ETFs in particular have become core holdings in many investors' portfolios. These funds sell call options on their underlying holdings to generate premium income, which is then distributed to investors as a dividend yield, typically in the 10 to 12% range. But now we're starting to see high-income ETFs shift toward maximizing growth potential as well. Now, a few months ago, I reviewed an ETF that was attempting to revolutionize the covered call strategy through a unique process, one that generates a nearly 18% dividend yield while outperforming virtually every other high-income ETF in its category. And so far, not only am I impressed with the fund's performance, it has genuinely exceeded my expectations. It has outperformed high-income ETFs like QQQI by almost 5% since inception, and has beaten other ETFs like GPIQ, JEPQ, and even its underlying index, the QQQ itself. Again, all while distributing that massive 18% yield. And what's most impressive is that it manages to do this while remaining highly tax efficient. Now, I do have a surprise for you. I sat down with the fund manager for an exclusive interview.
Perfect. Hi, Victoria. Thanks so much for having me.
And I'll be sharing some highlights today with the full video coming very soon. But I actually did learn some very interesting things about their unique strategy that I did not know about before. And no, this is not a sponsored video. So definitely stick around until the end because we have some crucial updates we need to cover, specifically around NAV erosion, covered calls, and tax efficiency. Now, when it comes to maximizing income potential, ETFs with exceptionally high yields often suffer from NAV decay. This is when the dividend yield you're receiving comes at the expense of the fund's net asset value. And I've always said that sacrificing NAV for dividends is never a good option, and you can see the difference when you compare total return versus price return. Total return reflects both capital appreciation and dividend distributions, while price return excludes dividends and only tracks the movement of the ETF's NAV. If price return is trending heavily downward over time, that is a clear sign of NAV decay. The only real solution in that case is to reinvest a large portion of the dividend back into the ETF, which defeats the purpose of generating high income in the first place. However, today's ETF appears to have a very strong and smart management structure. Despite distributing such an insanely high yield, historically, its NAV has remained relatively steady. And to be honest, I am very impressed with the results so far. And this brings me to TDAQ, which is the Tap Alpha Innovation 100 High Income ETF. This ETF has been getting a lot of attention over the past few months, and rightfully so, because its total return profile is actually extremely impressive. Now, before we dive into how this fund works, and before I give you my honest opinion, let's first start with the fundamentals so that you can get a better understanding of the ETF. TDAQ was established in September of 2025, so it is extremely new and has only been around for about 6 months. Despite that, the fund has already accumulated over $150 million in assets under management. And with an expense ratio of just 0.68%, it's actually quite reasonable, especially considering the ETF's massive yield. Now, with newer funds, skepticism is warranted. In general, it's always best to see a strong historical performance before even considering buying into an ETF. That said, the fundamental strategy here isn't wildly new, but the ETF has created a very interesting combination of a unique high income structure with a relatively simple framework, which is why the fund stands out to me. When you look at the holdings breakdown, you'll see that it mirrors the Nasdaq 100, the QQQ. So when comparing TDAQ to other ETFs in its category, we need to look at funds that sell calls on the QQQ as well, such as QQQI, GPIQ, JEPQ, and others. Now, what's very interesting is that since inception, TDAQ has actually slightly outperformed the QQQ and pulled ahead of peers like QQQI and GPIQ. But it holds the same stocks and uses a covered call strategy. So how has it managed to outperform? Now, choosing between individual ETFs is difficult. There are dozens of options in every category, but the real challenge is building a structured ETF portfolio. And if you're looking to learn how to build or optimize an ETF portfolio, you can join my Build Your ETF Portfolio workshop. And for the next 5 days, you can use the code SPRING60 to get $60 off. This is a no-fluff, framework-driven workshop that over 100 members are already using to bring clarity and structure to their ETF portfolios. Inside, I walk you through a step-by-step educational framework covering growth ETFs, dividend strategies, high and fixed income ETFs, and international diversification. Whether you're focused on growth, income, or a balanced approach, and whether you're just getting started or nearing retirement, this workshop gives you a clear structure to make more informed investing decisions. You'll also get 1 week free access to my Substack community for ongoing market insights, new ETF launches, dividend portfolio strategies, and direct Q&A with me and my team. Again, you can enroll using the link in the description or comment section below. Well, TDAQ uses 0 DTE covered calls, and 0 DTE simply means 0 days to expiration. So this ETF sells call options on the QQQ that expire the same day they are sold. Here's what's extremely fascinating, and this is something I picked up from the interview. I've always wondered why a fund would resort to 0 DTE calls. Well, according to the fund manager, selling 0 DTE calls can potentially collect up to 4 times the premium income compared to a regular monthly covered call strategy. That is a major advantage when it comes to income generation and total return potential. And that is likely why the ETF has been able to outperform its peers and the QQQ itself over the last few months. And more of that will be revealed in the full interview. But the most important thing to understand here is the relationship between 0 DTE options and rapid theta decay, or time decay. For those unfamiliar, theta decay is simply the process of an option contract losing value over time. And the rate at which that happens is what really matters. The closer an option gets to expiration, the faster theta decay accelerates. And with 0 DTE options, decay happens extremely rapidly because the contracts expire the same day. Now, we're often told that theta decay is bad for options. And if you're purchasing options, whether calls or puts, that is true. When you buy an option, your goal is to sell it at a higher price. If theta decay is eating into that value, it reduces your profit potential. But when you're selling option, it is the opposite. If I sell an option for $100, my goal is to buy that option back for less, let's say $10, locking in a $90 profit. In this case, theta decay works in your favor because it reduces the value of the contract that you sold and increases the likelihood of capturing that premium. What's also interesting is how the fund managers actually select these call options and their strike prices. To give you a brief gist, it is a combination of up to 15 variables that the fund runs through a proprietary algorithm to identify the most ideal strike prices for their covered calls. More on that in an upcoming video. Now, here's where things get really interesting. We've already seen 0 DTE high income ETFs emerge. Funds like QDTE, XDTE, and others have gathered significant assets. However, many of them suffer from NAV decay. When a fund promises extremely high yields of 30% or even 40% and fails to generate enough premium income to cover distributions, managers may have to dip into NAV to maintain payouts. Over time, that can erode total portfolio value. TDAQ, on the other hand, has not experienced significant NAV decay so far. In fact, it has remained relatively flat over the past 6 months. This is a critical distinction. First, while 70% is very high, it is nowhere near the 30 to 40% yield some other funds advertise, which I personally find excessive. And secondly, TDAQ actually holds the underlying asset, the QQQ itself. That may sound obvious, but some 0 DTE funds like QDTE do not hold the underlying index directly. Instead, they rely heavily on long-dated call options known as LEAPs. I'll explain what these are in another video. But using LEAPs allows funds to maintain exposure with less upfront capital. However, options still suffer from theta decay. TDAQ avoids that structure. It simply holds the QQQ and overlays daily expiring call options to generate income. So far, the managers have done an impressive job. At one point, the fund outperformed QQQI by roughly 6%, which is significant. But again, past performance does not guarantee future results. Now, a major benefit of this structure is participation in pre-market and after-hours moves. Traditional covered call ETFs sell options with 2-week or 30-day expirations, and that cap remains in place the entire time. So if the market gaps up 2% overnight, the ETF may already be capped, limiting total returns. With 0 DTE strategies, the cap only applies during regular market hours, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m., and that allows participation in overnight moves without being capped. Another major benefit, in my opinion, is during high volatility or sideways markets. By harvesting income every single day, the ETF can capitalize on elevated volatility in the options market and potentially collect higher premiums, which can add up significantly over time. Remember, higher volatility increases option premiums, and this is a relationship known as vega. This structure could potentially outperform traditional covered call ETFs, which lock in their income potential 2 weeks or even 30 days in advance when volatility may not be as elevated. That said, there are downsides to this ETF. And the biggest risk, in my opinion, is during sudden V-shaped market recoveries. If managers sell calls at open and the market suddenly rallies on unexpected news, such as tariff relief, policy shifts, or positive data, the fund could miss out on that sharp intraday recovery. We saw this during the April sell-off last year. When Trump delayed global tariffs, markets rebounded nearly 10% in a single day. And zero DTE funds that had sold calls that morning missed much of that move. But regular covered call ETFs like QQQI or GPIQ didn't have this problem. Now, this is an extreme case, and managers are generally skilled at navigating these situations. But it's a risk when a strategy depends heavily on daily execution. However, remember that TDAQ maintains continued exposure to the QQQ. If managers choose not to sell calls on a particular day, participation will closely resemble the QQQ itself. All right, now let's talk risk management. In my opinion, high-income ETFs should serve two purposes, and that is to generate income and to help dampen volatility. Funds like QQQI or JEPQ often reduce downside volatility by roughly 3 to 4% compared to the QQQ because of their structural design. TDAQ, however, may not provide the same level of downside dampening because calls are sold daily and income collected is limited to that day's premium. The risk management element may be weaker during prolonged downturns. Moving on to tax efficiency and NAV erosion, and these two go hand in hand with this fund. It's very important for high-income ETFs to be structured in a tax-efficient way, and the most popular method is return of capital, meaning your dividends are tax-deferred and you only pay taxes once you sell the fund or your adjusted cost basis reaches zero. And the fund aims to distribute the majority of its dividends as return of capital, which is fantastic. But on top of that, because the fund maintains direct exposure to the underlying index, its NAV remains steady and continues to grow over time. Many other high-income ETFs tend to use synthetic long positions instead, and unfortunately, those funds are often forced to distribute a large chunk of their NAV towards the end of the year due to specific IRS rules. I did cover this in more detail in a separate video, so definitely check that one out. You can watch it right here. So here's my take. TDAQ is so far a high-income machine. In a bull market, it has the potential to outperform both the QQQ and its high-income peers. In a sideways, high volatility market, I believe it could shine as well. However, in a sustained downward trend, I don't think it will offer the same defensive qualities as peers like JEPQ. Of course, the fund is still very new, and I'm very curious to see how it will perform over a full market cycle. And that is all for this one. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye! This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial, investment, tax, or legal advice. Discussions of ETFs, investing strategies, market updates, or specific funds are general, not tailored to your financial situation, and should not be relied upon for decision-making. Investing involves significant risks, including total loss of principal, and past performance does not guarantee future results. I am not a registered financial advisor. My content reflects personal research and publicly available information. I may earn affiliate commissions from mentioned products or links disclosed per FTC guidelines, but these do not influence my opinions. Always consult a licensed financial professional and verify information independently. By watching this, you agree I am not liable for any losses or consequences from your actions. International viewers should consult